Hello, this is a short video for Year 11 and Year 13 students and parents. It has some critical information about how GCSEs and A Levels will be awarded this year, and everybody must watch right until the end. I'm pleased to say that of the two options I gave you in my last video, it's now been confirmed that the blue boxes here are correct. A return this half term, time to teach before and after Easter, building towards a set of internal exams. Let's dive into what that means, bearing in mind these dates might change ever so slightly. For now, keep going with your online learning. On March the 8th, come in and get tested for coronavirus, and then we can get you back to class safely. And we've got 4 weeks to teach you up until the Easter holidays. There will be a chance to revise, and then after Easter, we've got 3 further weeks to teach you. What will then happen is around about Monday the 17th of May, we will begin this process of internal exams, or what are described as exams with a safety net. You know, we are going to make adjustments given what's happened. There might be some testing before that, but that's when we think it will start in earnest. So when we're back, we're going to talk to you about how the grading system will work in each subject. It's important for you to know so that when you receive the grades, you understand exactly where they came from. And Miss Jordan's going to put together an overview for every subject that details that down, and she'll send it to students and parents. It will be an important document for you to refer to. But for now, I need you to be patient about this question. If you pester us constantly about how the grades will be calculated, ironically, what that will do is it will distract us from planning how best to support you with those grades, and ultimately you could do worse. So please trust in us and give us some space. To help that, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to give you 3 examples, and they're examples which are representative of how the system will work, and they will give you the clarity that you need and the reassurance that you need at this point. I'd like to start with maths, both GCSE and A Level. You will be back in maths lessons very soon and learning with your normal teachers, and we will build in maths, like many other subjects, towards these internal exams on the 17th of May. In those exams, we're going to be using similar questions and similar mark schemes to other schools, drawing on materials produced by exam boards. If there are topics that we haven't been able to teach or that you haven't been able to learn, then we won't include them in those internal exams. Remember, it's exams with a safety net underneath them. We won't take topics out in a way that narrows the curriculum badly and disadvantages you for next year, but just in a way that is fair. So the bulk of your maths grade will derive from your performance in those internal exams. But we may broaden the evidence base slightly. For example, some individual topic tests on specific questions for specific students. So if you're a student who's aiming for an A star or an A or a grade 9 or a grade 8, you might be offered some additional tests just to provide extra evidence for us that you are hitting those high grades. And certainly, no one would be able to do worse in this model than they did in previous mocks. So if you were badly affected by COVID in a particular way, let's say you were unwell at the time of the exams, we would look back at previous data if we had to. But the bulk of it in maths is going to derive from that test, as I say. I'd like to look next at PE. In PE, your NEA, your coursework, will count for 40%, just like it normally would. You plan for that, so you should be allowed to work on that basis. However, and it's a very important however, the NEA will only be 2 practical sports, not 3 practical sports, because we are making an adjustment given what's happened. Now, the other 60% will be the theory exam. We taught you the theory, you've learned the theory, but again, if there are topics that we haven't been able to cover, they would be removed or reduced within that final exam to make sure that it is totally fair. I'll give you one third example, which is a contrasting example, which is art, where the whole of your grade will be based on the portfolio that you've been producing. Now, again, those portfolios won't be exactly the same as they would have been in a normal year without COVID. I know many of you have worked hard on your portfolio and will continue to do, but it will be 100% based on that, and there won't be any exam. I want to address head-on now some of the absolute rubbish, frankly, that I've read in the papers and seen on social media about this issue of exams. You have to remember that journalists want to produce stories that sell papers and generate clicks, and they can only do that with headlines such as "Exam System Unfair" and "Schools in Chaos." What a load of nonsense. I couldn't be more confident and more happy about this system because every single KA student stands to benefit from it. And you all have the chance to do better under these arrangements that you would have done if there'd been exams. And let me explain to you why. The first question is all about fairness. Could KA be more generous or more harsh when awarding grades than other schools? And the answer is no, it can't be. Because any differences between us and other schools are going to be, at most, marginal. Let me explain. Schools are going to follow the same guidance. We're going to put together exam papers in the same way. We're going to use similar questions. We're going to draw on similar evidence. We can't say we're going to do exactly the same thing as every other school. Of course we can't say that. But we will moderate carefully with other schools. All of the Aldridge academies, all of the Kensington and Chelsea academies, some of the major academy chains that we have good links with, like art schools or Harris academies. Expect a lot of collaboration and coordination between schools on this issue. The next point is that all schools are subject to the same quality assurance requirements, internally and then externally by exam boards. I have to make this point really clearly. Every year, teachers decide students' GCSE and A Level grades for coursework. And people don't scream about unfairness. This is the same process that we do there, but just on a bigger scale. And the third point is that judgments will be evidence-based. The only thing that counts when deciding your grade is the quality of the work that you produce. Now, good behaviour is something that I'm passionate about, and I think it's important that students behave well. But in this particular instance, whether you behave well and have a good relationship with a teacher, or whether you don't, is of no significance at all. All that counts is the quality of the work that you've produced. Now, an example of some of the protections we're putting in place here is that in those internal exams in May and early June, you won't actually write your name on the exam paper. You will write a unique code which the teachers won't know which student that links to. Not because I think that's particularly necessary. I think the teachers will be thoroughly objective, but just because it's an extra layer of protection that could give you confidence. Every single teacher will sign a declaration saying that they have assessed grades fairly and accurately, and I overall will sign a declaration saying that KA has handled this process entirely fairly, and as professionals we will take those declarations extremely seriously. The next question is, what protections do you have in this process? Well, firstly, before we set the grades, you can tell us any relevant context. So let's go back to my art example. If you haven't been able to complete your art portfolio adequately from home, although we have provided art materials to all students, you should obviously tell your art teacher, and if that is a legitimate point, that would be factored in to any decision. We know that students have faced barriers in different ways at different times, and we want to take that into account when it's right to do so, and we're not interested in disadvantage any of our own students. Why would we be? Now, after the results, in the event that you're unhappy with the process, you can appeal it. You can't appeal if you're unhappy with yourself, if you're unhappy that you didn't put in enough effort or revise carefully. That would be wasting everyone's time. But what you can do is you could say to the school, can you check that we didn't make an administrative error? And if we said we didn't, then you could appeal separately to the exam board and they will review the evidence base that we put together, just like you can in a normal year when students ask for remarks. Now, just remember that results can go up on appeal, or they can stay the same as the majority do, or they could go in historic years, or they could go down. Now, although this system is new for you, it's not a new idea generally. I spent 5 minutes this morning just Googling which countries have a form of assessment like this, where internal tests and evidence are used by teachers to make judgments. And I discovered that South Korea does, Finland does, those other countries. There'll be more than that. That's just what I found out this morning. So this method might be new, but it's not necessarily any worse. In fact, I think it's an excellent alternative for where we are. And especially in an outstanding school like KA, we are well placed to help you make the most of these new arrangements. So in conclusion then, keep going with your work. Go straight back to your studies, make the most of every online lesson. When it comes to March the 8th, make sure you attend your COVID testing slot. Be patient and wait to have the details confirmed for each subject. I've given you here 3 examples which are representative that should give you the clarity that you need for now, more than enough clarity. And the one thing you can do if you want to improve your grade is attend every single lesson, work hard, follow teacher's instructions, and ask where you need help. Thank you for your attention. Best of luck. I can't wait to see you back. Take care, guys.